Okay. Call the meeting to order at 7:02. I guess we'll go with Matt. Would you like to lead in the flag salute?
Fine, sir. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Sandy, will you take the roll call?
Trustee Bradall. Here. Trustee Gould.
Here.
Trustee Levy.
here.
Trustee Shiokari.
Here.
Trustee Villalobos. Here. Thank you.
Recording of meeting, the district digitally records the audio portion of the meetings. The recorder is located in front of the board scribe. All recordings are kept in the superintendent's office for 30 days and are available during that time period for inspection by members of the public on district equipment without charge. As a community service, Pacifica Community Television, PCT, records and broadcasts meetings. The board met in closed session regarding negotiations, and we have nothing to report out. No action was taken. All right, let me get this figured out. We did the flag, we did the... Okay. So, we're down to reorganization, right? Well, where's the approval of the minutes?
Not until after reorganization.
Okay.
This one's a little different. It's a little different.
Okay, so, item 7A, and we have a public comment on 7A? Yeah, we do. Item 7A, annual board reorganization. This goes to Wendy.
And so now we will move forward on the installation of our new board members. Do we want to begin? Do you have a comment? On installation of new board members?
Oh, but that's...
Yeah, I think that's. So first we will go into installation of new board members, and maybe we will start with Kathy Shiokari.
Okay, so,
Would you like me to? No,
Richard?
Richard?
Did you pick up yours for Kathy?
Installation of new board members for Kathy Shiokari.
You're on.
I think you probably want to go up there.
Thank you.
Both sides.
I don't, there's nothing else that I'm supposed to read. Thank you. I'm trying.
Okay, well, thank you to the board for allowing me to do this. This is something that I've always kind of hoped to do. Kathy and I worked together for many years at a school level, PTO level, and had a good time working together. This is also a real thrill for me because this is also someone who I am very proud to be able to call friend for many years now. So.
I'm
Are you sure? I, say your name,
I, Kathy Shiokari,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will, to the best of my ability,
that I will, to the best of my ability,
discharge the duties legally required of me
discharge the duties legally required of me
as a member of the Pacifica School District Board of Trustees,
as a member of the Pacifica School District Board of Trustees,
that I will diligently work
that I will diligently work
to provide the direction and leadership
to provide the direction and leadership
necessary to bring about
necessary to bring about
a quality instructional program
a quality instructional program
for every child of the district.
for every child of the district.
I further promise
I further promise
to abide by those laws
to abide by those laws
which regulate the operation
which regulate the operation
of public schools
of public schools
as constituted in the California Education Code,
as constituted in the California Education Code,
the state constitution,
the state constitution,
and other California statutes
and other California statutes
which relate to the public schools.
which relate to the public schools.
I take this obligation freely,
I take this obligation freely,
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and I will faithfully execute the duties and responsibilities
and I will faithfully execute the duties and responsibilities
I'm about to assume.
I'm about to assume.
Congratulations.
All right, Elizabeth next. You're on.
All right. Raise up your right hand.
I'll keep this kind of close.
I state your name.
I, Elizabeth Cordall,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will, to the best of my ability,
that I will, to the best of my ability,
discharge the duties legally required of me
discharge the duties legally required of me
as a member of the Pacifica School District Board of Trustees,
as a member of the Pacifica School District Board of Trustees,
that I will diligently work
that I will diligently work
to provide the direction and leadership
to provide the direction and leadership
necessary to bring about
necessary to bring about
a quality instruction program
a quality instruction program
for every child of the district.
for every child of the district.
I further promise
I further promise
to abide by those laws
to abide by those laws
which regulate the operation
which regulate the operation
of the public schools
of the public schools
as constituted in the California Ed Code,
as constituted in the California Ed Code,
the state
the
constitution,
state constitution,
and other California statutes
and other California statutes
which relate to the public schools.
which relate to the public schools.
I take this obligation freely
I take this obligation freely,
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and I will faithfully execute the duties and responsibilities
and I will faithfully execute the duties and responsibilities
I am about to assume.
I'm about to assume.
I'll keep this close. I remember when I was taking the oath, I thought it would never end. How much more of this is there? Raise your right hand. I, Laverne Villalobos,
I, Laverne Villalobos,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will, to the best of my ability,
that I will, to the best of my ability,
discharge the duties legally required of me
discharge the duties legally required of me
as a member of the Pacifica School District Board of Trustees,
as a member of the Pacifica School Board of Trustees,
that I will diligently work
that I will diligently work
to provide the direction and leadership
to provide the direction and leadership
necessary to bring about
necessary to bring about
a quality instructional program
a quality instructional program
for every child of the district.
for every child of the district.
I further promise
I further promise
to abide by those laws
to abide by those laws
which regulate the operation
which regulate the operations
of the public schools
of the public schools
as constituted in the California Education Code,
as constituted in the California Education Code,
the state constitution,
the state constitution,
and other California statutes
and other California statutes
which relate to the public schools.
which relate to the public schools.
I take this obligation freely,
I take this obligation freely,
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and I will faithfully execute the duties and responsibilities
and I will faithfully execute the duty and responsibilities
I am about to assume.
I am about to assume.
Can we get one more picture with the people that swore in and then also.
The swearies.
And then, so we have something for the newspaper. Come on.
Swearers and swearies, swearers and swearies.
It's Sandy's job.
I know how much you
Where do you want it?
Yes, you know.
This one?
One more, guys.
One more map.
Yeah, there you go. Very nice. One more. Thank you.
Okay, so 7.A.2, the election of the 2015 officers, president, vice president, clerk, vice clerk, and member.
So do we open taking nominations for president?
I nominate Andrea Gould for president.
A second?
All those in favor? You raise your hand if you're in favor. All approved. Are you ready, Sandy?
Passes 5-0.
I'm sorry. We kind of started without you. Okay,
Vice president?
so now you.
I nominate Matt Levy for vice president of our beautiful board.
I second.
All in favor?
Passes 5-0, thank you.
Okay, clerk.
I nominate Kathy Shiakari for clerk.
I second.
All in favor?
Passes 5-0.
Seems to be going fine. Vice clerk? I'm going to nominate
I think it's your
Elizabeth.
turn.
What?
I think it's her turn.
Oh, sorry.
I nominate Elizabeth for the. I second.
All in favor?
All I'm saying passes 5-0, but Elizabeth
Oh.
didn't vote.
You vote.
Okay,
No, you vote for yourself, okay.
Okay, and we don't have to vote for member, right? Okay, okay,
She already did that.
okay, very good. Item 7.8.3, appointment of secretary to the board.
On this one, it is recommended that the board appoint the superintendent, Wendy Tutloff, as secretary to the board for the 2015 calendar year.
Do you need a movement for that?
I'm sorry?
Do you need a movement for that?
Yeah, I think I need a
I move that
movement.
we appoint Dr. Tuckloff secretary to the board.
Okay. Any seconds? Any discussion? All right, vote. All in favor?
Passes 5-0, thank you.
You got it. Wendy. Okay, 7.A.4. This is a resolution number 2014-12-10-A for outgoing member Joan Whiteman.
Do we have a speaker?
We do. We have Mark Lorenzen.
Oh, it's your turn. Actually, okay.
It says resolution for Joan.
Okay, it's actually for all the board members. So I'm just sort of interjecting myself on the behalf of LSMA, so just got a little wrong, but that's okay. Members of the board and superintendent, I'm speaking tonight on behalf of Laguna Salada Management Association. We strongly felt the need to thank our outgoing board members for the contributions over the years. To save time and to demonstrate their incredible effort together on behalf of the board, I have combined their work into a few highlights. And it's impressive. Together they have served 26 years on the school board, 36 years as parent volunteers at Ocean Shore Alternative School, which included over 40,000 mandated parent participation hours. And I'm sure that they served more than that. During their tenure, they directed and oversaw the following accomplishments: bringing back special ed to the Pacifica from county classes, which would reduce costs and serve students more inclusively and effectively in our community. And I can sure say that my two SDC classes are examples of that. Helped develop and adjust the open enrollment lottery process that created more equity across the district. And don't worry, new board members, you'll get a chance to do that too. Helped start the process and pass 2 parcel tax. Served on the PTO executive boards at Ocean Shore and the Pacifica School Volunteers. Helped pass a bond measure and then the sale of surplus schools to finance the modernization of all the Pacifica schools. Hired highly successful superintendents who oversaw the increase of the district API by 75 total points and a decrease, which I think is more important, from 150 to less than 50 from the high to low in our school district. Transferred 2 schools to San Bruno District to save our district millions. And I think your biggest accomplishment was that you were always focused on what was best for the children and never on politics. Thank you for that. And that's really true. I've said that to you many times. Thank you again for all you've done. I personally have enjoyed working with you as parents at Ocean Shore and here in the district. Next Wednesday night, January 8th, the next board meeting, make a date with your long-suffering mate and go out and have some fun. You've earned it. Thank you.
It's recommended that the board adopt resolution 2014-12-10-A acknowledging Joan Weideman for her dedicated service with the Pacifica School District Board of Trustees. Joan Weideman, a member of the Pacifica School District Board of Trustees for 12 years, has provided diligent service and support both as a parent and as a board member. Her positive, active participation in Pacifica School District activities model representation of Pacifica School District, and her strong leadership as a trustee has served Pacifica School District well. Pacifica School District looks forward to a continued collaboration with Ms. Weideman. Oh, now do I read all of those? Okay. All right, I'm kidding.
We could read this instead of that. Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District, County of San Mateo, State of California, that whereas Joan Weideman assumed office on the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District, serving 3 terms beginning in December 2002, and served in all roles on the board, including board president 3 times. And whereas Joan's relationship with the district began as a parent at Ocean Shore School from 1998 to 2012, and quintessential volunteer and recipient of the Elna Flynn Outstanding Volunteer Award. And whereas Ms. Weideman exemplifies fiscal responsibility and stewardship as she served during a time when California faced one of its worst fiscal crises by working with labor partners for concessions, reducing staff, and championing the passage of the district's first parcel tax that provided a $1.2 million boost to the district funds. And whereas during her time on the board, Ms. Weideman completed her teaching degree and acquired a middle school mathematics teaching position with the district, benefiting from her knowledge of the latest trends in research and curriculum. And whereas Joan Weideman has always been willing to engage in a foot race to talk to the California State Superintendent of Public Instruction or any legislator representing Pacifica to champion education and the needs of Pacifica School District. And whereas Joan's very thorough reading of board policy and procedure revisions drove detail orientation to new levels with her fellow board members holding her in high regard. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District hereby extends on behalf of students, parents, and staff its sincere thanks and appreciation for a job well done. And further, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees extends its best wishes to Joan Weideman upon the occasion of leaving the Board of Trustees following 12 years of service, and extends its sincerest best wishes for a rewarding and fulfilling future. Regularly passed and adopted this 10th day of December, 2014.
Say a few words. I also want to acknowledge that one of the things that we do in Pacifica is to offer a years of service, and you certainly have made your quota on years of service in this district. So even though you are not a employee per se,
Mark thought I was.
It started before she got on the board.
You felt it important to extend that to you. So thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. I have never been so sad to leave a job. I felt like I got to work with some of the very best people. And the first people I have to extend that to is my fellow school board members over the last 12 years. It's not an easy job, but, when I reflected on this, I really felt I didn't agree with the policies and philosophies of other board members. I didn't even agree with some of the tactics that were done or used. But what was really good was that their heart was in the right place, and they could agree to disagree in a respectful way and come to consensus and to really bend when it was necessary for the kids. And so I think that I feel very fortunate to have worked with very committed, strong people, and they continue to serve the community today. Many of those board members are doing other things in the community to support the community, and I feel very blessed to have their wisdom and their leadership to guide me along, and I really appreciate that. I think that the staff in this district is phenomenal. I came at a time way back when it was kind of turmoilish, and through the leadership of the superintendents, and I appreciate that you had mentioned that, Mark, because I think that really that the board who hired those superintendents in the past set the path of this district. And we, as a result of that, we have strong educational programs, we have good relationships with our teachers. I know it's tough now, but it's still positive, even in tough times. And the staff and the people who've really benefited from that have been the children and the community as well. I have to say a big thank you to my husband. This is the reason that I could do what I did. He has supported me in every step of the way, and during the Measure N campaign, he washed more dishes, did more clothes in those 3 months than he did in 25 years of marriage. Okay? He, in any endeavor that I chose to take on, he has backed me 100%. So really, this resolution should have been for him, because he's had to do a lot of the behind-the-scenes work to make that happen. And to my kids who are off at college, yes. You know, they were wonderful through this whole process as well. And I hope what they take away from that is that when you give to your community really benefits. So you haven't seen the last of me yet. I'm hoping to be on some committees, and I'm here to support the schools in any way that I can, and I wish to continue to do that. So thank you so much for letting me serve you for 12 years.
So before you disappear, Joan, she's going to make it back. No disappearing.
Do I have to have a picture?
Yes. Well, yes, she should get a picture. But I would like to thank you for the last 2 years of being on the board with you and sitting next to you for 2 years, and really benefiting so much from your leadership and from your knowledge base. And there are some big shoes to fill, although your shoes are kind of small. There's some big shoes to fill on this board, and we're going to miss you, so don't go away very far. So stay a little close, because we're going to need a little help from you. But I just, I'm just kind of overwhelmed. It's like I didn't think I'd be feeling this way, but it just has been an honor to work with you, because I really have a great deal of respect for you and what you do.
Likewise, I just want to say that it's been an honor serving with you, and I really appreciate. I've learned a tremendous amount in this last 2 years, and one of the things that I've learned is how important that kind of stability and knowledge is important to a board, and how much that's important to running the district properly. So I thank you. On behalf of my kids, we're growing up in the district under your leadership. Thank you for your service.
Well, I've known Joan since our eldest were young together, and during my time as a PTO president, we worked together on many different occasions, and I quickly learned that when I saw Joan bearing down on me, that she no, you can't hide, that there was always a very well thought out reason, and it was something you needed to really listen to and think about. And I've just really appreciated our relationship over the years, and I'm sorry we're sort of doing this now, but you're an incredible force, and I know that with becoming a teacher or whatever else you do, you're going to bring great passion to it, so I wish you well.
Known Joan for many years through not only being parents in the school district, but also through Boy Scouts, our kids being active in that. But I'm just really sorry that we are bypassing each other and not going to be up here together. But I know you'll be nearby. I'm counting on you being nearby. So.
I never really got to know Joan on the parent or PTO or PTA level, but I did know her like from a parent and a board member, and I'd just like to thank her for everything that she's done over the years while my kids have been in the school district. And I too look to her as a mentor now that I'm coming in as a new board member, and she's quite seasoned. Thank you.
One last thing. Richard.
Hi, John.
Thank you. I'm going to say these words for the very last time.
On behalf of the Board of Trustees, I would like to thank Sandy Ramirez, who does all the behind-the-scenes things to keep the board going. I mean, without her, we would be kind of lost. So the board, the outgoing board, and would really like to recognize your thoughtfulness, your caring, and keeping us together and dropping off those lovely board packets every week. So thank you so much, Sandy, for being here.
So we do this now? Okay.
Okay.
All right, so Corey Wolbach from Jerry Hill's office has resolutions.
Hi.
So again, my name is Corey Wolbach. I'm from the district office of Senator Jerry Hill. I'm his liaison to Pacifica, a new role in the office for me. So I'm excited to learn more about the community. I've worked on education issues for a couple of years, and so I've had a chance to work with the superintendent. I'm looking forward to getting to know all of the trustees. I'm sorry I won't have a chance to work with you in depth, but I'll spare reading all the whereases. I think we've already had a few of those, but this is from Senator Jerry Hill and Assemblymember Kevin Mullen, both on behalf of the legislature, just an expression of thanks for everything that you've done in all your years of service to Pacifica and to the education of the next generation. So thank you.
Do I have permission to sit now?
Yes, we'll let you sit. All right, next.
You have to approve the resolution.
We have to approve the resolution. Can I have a motion, please?
I move we approve resolution 2014-1210A.
I second.
All in favor?
Passes 5-0, thank you.
Next. Got it. She doesn't want me to read everything else. She's gonna try to control me here. 7.8.5, resolution number 2014-12-10-B for outgoing member Richard Faust. All right. Resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District, County of San Mateo, State of California, that whereas Richard Faust assumed office on the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District in December 2010, and whereas Richard's relationship with the district began as a parent of 2 sons at Ocean Shore School, where he served as an extremely active volunteer on their PTO board as PTO Vice President, new parent liaison in charge of kindergarten tours, kindergarten lottery expert, and recipient of the Elna Flynn Outstanding Volunteer Award. And whereas Mr. Faust exemplifies a strong commitment and passion for the Pacifica School District through his undaunting efforts to support all schools by attending as many school functions at as many school sites as time allowed, getting to know as many teachers, staff, and families as possible. And whereas Richard approached everything with balance, seeking as much information as possible regarding all issues, while always listening to all sides of an issue, generally in a t-shirt and shorts. And whereas Mr. Faust served in all roles on the board, including 1 year as board president and served as liaison on the Wellness Committee, Strategic Plan Committee, Special Education Parent Advisory Council, Parcel Tax Oversight Committee, as well as the Articulation Committee with the other Pacifica agencies. And whereas Richard continues to demonstrate exceptional leadership through his appointment to the newly formed countywide LGBT Commission. And now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District hereby extends on behalf of students, parents, and staff its sincere thanks and appreciation for a job well done. And further be it resolved that the Board of Trustees extends its best wishes to Richard Faust upon the occasion of leaving the Board of Trustees following 4 years of service, and extends its sincere best wishes for a rewarding and fulfilling future. Regularly passed and adopted this 10th day of December 2014. Yeah, Corey, you want to go ahead and do Richards, and then we've got all the resolutions at one time?
So Richard, on behalf of Senator Jerry Hill and Assembly Member Kevin Mullen, please accept this sign of appreciation. Thank you for all of your hard work, everything you do for the kids.
No.
Really? How much is thanks, sir? It was great. So, well, first off, I can see that Sandy didn't listen to me. I asked her when they were writing my wherefores and whereas to just put thanks.
Forgot to add that.
Yeah. So, like Joan, I'd like to echo, it's kind of sad to leave a job. I'm normally one that really hates goodbyes, but I have really enjoyed my time here. I'm thankful to the other board members that I've served with. I'm thankful to the administration, who have always been there to answer my questions. Also echoing Joan, I'm especially thankful to Sandy, who made sure that I knew where I was going, when I was supposed to be there, and at times when I was sitting up there, gave me the words that I had to say. So, like I said, I'm normally one that really hates goodbyes, but I'm very proud of the work that was accomplished while I was a part of the board, and I'm not that sad in leaving, and knowing that we have 5 people who are very passionate and will continue on the work that has been started, as well as an excellent administration and support staff that will keep them all going. So, thank you.
to let us say our goodbyes to you, Richard. So So thank you, Richard. It's been a pleasure and an honor to serve with you for the last couple of years. When I was first over at Ocean Shore, and I kept asking Zoe, who's that guy with the tattoos? and so then I found out who that guy is, and the shorts and the tattoos, so you are. You're just a representative of the community, a figure of the community that everybody knows who you are, and you're always so out there and involved with the schools and now with the other things in the community too. It's so impressive to see your leadership style and your influence on our community. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
I think, obviously, loving kids and wanting to do right by them is a prerequisite for being up here. But I truly think I've never met anybody who loves kids as much as Richard. Like, I mean that very sincerely, and it's the highest compliment that I can that I can think of. And I think that in many ways, Richard sort of represents represents the Pacifica School Board in its in its openness and its willingness to listen to everybody, and its being calm and considered in always thinking of the kids first, as Mark said, and in its informality of dress. So thank you for everything.
Well, most people know that Richard and I go way back, and I'm trying to think of what I can share, because I have a lot of things I could share that I probably shouldn't. But, we had a lot of fun tormenting Mark for many years. Richard's he's Superman in so many ways, and I know that, I'm guessing that he's not going to disappear completely because he can't help himself. So I look forward to further collaboration on a professional level, and you will be missed.
First met you through Terra Nova Track, and both having kids on the track team and parent volunteers there, and finding out how much you were involved here. And I'm hoping that you won't go too far away, and we'll help mentor the rest of us. Or at least look forward to seeing you.
No, I definitely won't be too far away. I'm kind of actually looking forward to going back to doing second grade math.
Once again, I don't know Richard that well, but what I do know is that I'd like to still work with him and collaborate, because he's on a very important committee, the LGBT committee, and I'm hoping that we can talk in the future possibly about incorporating some things into our school.
Anytime. Oh, and while I'm here, one thing that I forgot to mention, and I do want to mention since most of the principals are here present in the room, is just a big thank you to all of you for allowing me to, on occasion, come in and invade your space. I love getting in to see the kids and being around the kids, and you guys have been great about taking me out and showing me things that are going on in school and keeping me on mailing lists, and so I have really enjoyed that part of this job. Thanks, everyone.
Can we have a motion to adopt the resolution for acknowledging Richard Faust?
I move that we adopt resolution number 2014-12-10-B.
Anybody second?
Second.
All in favor?
Passes 5-0, thank you.
All right. Now for resolution number 2014-12-10-C, going ABC, for outgoing member Eric Rushames. All right. Resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District, County of San Mateo, State of California, that Whereas Richard Rushames was provisionally appointed to and assumed office on the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District on January 16, 2013, serving the remainder of Mike O'Neill's term and demonstrating his dedication to Pacifica and the Pacifica School District. And whereas Eric's relationship with the district began as a custodian in his late teens and later as a parent of 2 sons in the Laguna Salada Union School District Alternative Program. And whereas Mr. Rushames served 2 terms on the Laguna Salada Union School District Board of Trustees from 1990 to 1998, a very significant time in the history of the district during which his efforts in passing the facilities modernization bond adopted of the facilities master plan and the decision for a single middle school were implemented. And those things are his fault. Oh, sorry. Whereas Eric exemplifies his secret note behind his nameplate that very simply states, first thought equal emotional, second thought equals rational. Ooh. Okay. And I think math when you say that. And whereas Mr. Rushames, as a sign of fiscal prudence, brought with him to his first board meeting in January 2013 his nameplate from service on the board during the 1990s, even though the font did not match the others perfectly. And whereas Mr. Rushames demonstrates a strong regard for community engagement as exemplified by ensuring that all educational acronyms were identified and explained. And whereas Eric demonstrated his commitment to the entire Pacifica community as well as the district by serving on the San Mateo County School Safety Task Force that brought together school districts and city and county agencies to develop a county-wide safety plan using common protocols. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Pacifica School District hereby extends on behalf of students, parents, and staff its sincere thanks and appreciation for a job well done. And further, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees extends its best wishes to Eric Rushames upon the occasion of leaving the Board of Trustees following 2 years of service, and extends its sincere best wishes for a rewarding and fulfilling future, regularly passed and adopted this 10th day of December 2014.
Thank you. Would that it have been my teens when I started with the district. Actually, I was older, which is even scarier because that was 41 years ago. So I've been a district employee, I've been a parent, I've been a trustee, I was a police officer in town for 30 years, and I was in and out of every school almost all the time. And it's really been a pleasure and an honor. And I stand here to give hope to Richard and to Joan that you can come back. This is the end of my second tour as a trustee. And one thing that's been consistent over the last 40 years, I was sitting here thinking about the number of superintendents I've served with, which is more than a half a dozen, the number of principals, which is dozens, board members, dozens, and teachers, hundreds, and classified staff, hundreds, and kids, tens of thousands. And it's a real honor to have been a part of this district. And one thing that is, I won't repeat everything that Richard and Joan said, but one thing that's been consistent for the 40 years is what an amazing community this is, of parents, of staff members, and that's all staff members, from the part-time custodian, school secretary, cafeteria, to teachers, to principals, to district office staff. This community is blessed with an amazing group of people. And I've always thought that, and at every level I've contacted this district, I've seen that. And we've had high points and low points in getting along, and that's just the way it goes. But there's never been any lack of commitment, that the reason we're here is to provide the best education we can for kids, and that's everybody's reason for being here. And I'm honored to have been a part of it. I'm honored to have served with the board that I served with this last time, as well as the other boards. I am encouraged by our new members, and y'all have big shoes to fill. And I wish you all the best of luck. And as I said, I'm honored to have been a part of this district. And I'll still be around because, as I've said before, you can come back. So thank you very much, and it's been a pleasure. I missed my cue.
Can't go yet. And thank you for 2 tours of duty on the school board, everything you've done for Pacifica, and everything you've done for the students and for education in our region. On behalf of Senator Jerry Hill and Assemblymember Kevin Bullen, on behalf of the legislature.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, and we do have a request for one of your friends to come speak for you.
Uh-oh.
Stay up there. Mr. Faust.
Oh. Do I get 3 minutes afterwards?
You want a rebuttal?
So just something on Eric that I wanted to share, something that I really appreciated in sitting next to him for this past year, and this is actually something that it's taken Kathy many years to kind of cue in on, and she's now very good, is that Eric was intuitive enough that when something kind of struck me as funny and I was about ready to blurt out something, he would tap me on the shoulder and say, "You're not in the firehouse." So thank you for that.
I just want to say thank you, Eric, for stepping up 2 years ago and taking on this job and filling in for your pal Mike, and you've been a real asset for the last 2 years, bringing in your historical knowledge and just a nice even way of dealing with things, and a nice knowledge, very knowledgeable of people and how people work, and I've always appreciated that. Thank you.
I think one of the benefits of having someone with so much experience and having a couple of people on this board with so much experience is that something would come up that said, the county wants to change some boundary because of something that happened back in 1994 or whatever, and Eric would go, "Oh yeah, I did that," and he would explain the whole thing, which saved everybody a whole lot of time. And I want to particularly appreciate him for his explication of TLAs. 3-letter acronyms, of which there are many, and I think pretty much every board conversation would go something like, and so then we need to make sure that our ELLs are represented, and Eric would go, "And those are?" And then that would be spelled back out, and so we're going to need to, we need to make sure that we continue to do that and keep on our toes.
Well, when I was entering alternative, Eric was leaving, and I can still remember a general meeting where he was the last of sort of the old-time alternative families, and I believe you got up and gave a speech about them, and then you all walked out the door, and I sort of had this feeling of, wait, and I'm kind of feeling like when we see you three go, I'm going to have that feeling again. But thank you, Eric, not only for your work here in the district, but our city. You've put a lot of good years in and made it a really lovely, safe place, and I've always appreciated your calm demeanor and your gentlemanness. So thank you.
I've really appreciated your support the last couple of years and sharing your knowledge and always being willing to be there to share all the past knowledge that you have from your years on the board. And we will miss you here spelling out the acronyms. That I will miss.
I just remember coming to the board meetings, and some of the board meetings I come to, it's really quiet and nobody's talking. But every time Eric talked, it just made the room more energetic, and I could sense the passion that he had for education. And I just want to thank him also because he reached out and offered to be a mentor to me too if I had any questions. And I'll take him up on that too. Thank you.
So Kim, oh, what?
So we can get one more quick picture of the.
Okay, we'll Sorry. We'll vote on this and then.
Okay.
Can I get a motion for resolution 2014-1210-C?
Okay, motion to adopt resolution 2014-12-10-C.
Second?
All in favor?
Passes 5-0, thank you.
And now pictures?
Yeah, of at least the 3 outgoing board members. Anyone else we'd like Mr. Wolbach maybe to come up and have his picture taken?
Jerry Hill thing, maybe.
The Jerry Hill guy.
You.
They're resolutions. They're plaques.
I totally, I can tell you what they're.
She's in charge.
CD's in charge.
If you can all get up, yeah, just get up in front. We just want a picture, please. Does the board want to get into the picture as well? Yeah, perfect.
Probably on.
Very nice.
Now just all together.
Richard, you can sell this on eBay.
No, I think it will remember it now. I'm hoping it will remember it now.
That's a nice picture.
That's a wonderful picture. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is so much fun. It's like we get to leave now.
Yeah, bye.
Wait a minute, the calendar's up next. You wanna miss that? You want to move yours up too?
Debbie Little,
Wait, we gotta all sit down.
Sorry.
And I gotta keep on.
Okay. Debbie Little, LSCA President and 5th grade teacher at Sunset Ridge Elementary School. On behalf of LSCA, I would like to just thank the outgoing board members for their years of service to the district, to the students, the teachers, the staff. We do appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you out and about in the community and working with you there. And in addition, we would like to welcome the new members to the board, and we look forward to working with you in the new school year, or the new year.
We have one more. Whoa, 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 whoa. Whoa. Halima?
I didn't want to put one for each of you and then have to pop up. Excuse me. I'm here representing the Jefferson Union High School District and myself as a parent. And so first, I just want to welcome all the new board members, and I'm excited to work with you and continue building the bridges that we've worked out with the people that are sitting in the audience now. And I want to thank Eric first. I knew Eric mostly outside of the school district with all this help on the parcel tax campaign that I ran. It was not easy in the beginning to convince people that an increase would be a good idea. They actually thought we were a little crazy, and Eric was one of our staunch defenders. And it was nice to have somebody with that history with the district back us in the beginning and help us get momentum. So thank you so much for everything you've done for the district. And then I got to know Richard really well because we ran against each other for the seat. And he beat me. But I wouldn't have wanted to lose to anyone else. You're the only person that I'd be okay losing to. I think it all worked out and we all ended up where we were supposed to be and it was meant to be. And I want to thank you for everything that we've done working together on the articulation committee. And it's a great loss for the district. But I'm glad that you're still going to be sticking around. And, you know, everyone knows And last, I would like to talk to Joan. Joan was the first person I ever met in the Pacifica School District when I went on the tour for Ocean Shore, and you were the parent that was the greeter in the library. So you're the first person I ever met. And it was fitting because I kind of am in the place I am now because of Joan. I remember I got really politically active when Sunset Ridge was placed on the 100 worst bad school list. And my daughter Amira got really upset about that. And I wondered what we could do, and we did the petition, and she got a couple hundred signatures. And Joan was so impressed. She's like, I'm going up to Sacramento. Do you want to ride with us? And we're going to talk to the State Board of Education. So the three of us, we drove up to Sacramento, and we presented to the board. And I just felt like, this is empowering. This is amazing. We're taking this in our hands, and we're going up to Sacramento, and we're going to make a change. And so it was that experience, and having that experience with my daughter, and the time in the car with Joan on the way there, on the way back, that I really felt like this is my calling, and this is what I want to do. And I just want to thank you for everything you've ever done for all of the students and all of the parents in the Pacifica School District. And I love you, and we're still going to be in contact. So thank you so much.
But at that meeting, Amir was the first one to speak, and in that room was a bunch of county superintendents. And after they heard Amir speak, the expressions on their face was, oh blank, we have to follow that. She was so articulate, so well spoken. She nailed it on the head. It was like none of the rest of us need to speak. So that was a very memorable time for me, and I realized how powerful kids could be.
Hi, I'm Lisa Kern, and on behalf of CSEA, we would also like to thank the outgoing board members and for all your time that you've put in with the district and all the hard work that you've done for our children. I am the CSEA president, outgoing president, I should say. We had our elections tonight, and I have stepped down. I didn't run. Sue Beckmeyer, I'd like to introduce to the board tonight. I'm sure everybody knows Sue. She's very active in the district, and she will do a wonderful job as president for CSEA. So I would like the new board members to get to know Sue, because she'll be working with the board members. But I would like to welcome the new board members on staff on behalf of CSEA, and welcome to the board. Thank you.
Okay, I just have to say, my first day as president, and everything is just chaotic. All out of order. Okay, gotta run a tire ship. They want to do 10C, so I'm keeping them to 10C. That seems appropriate. All right, so now the exciting part of the night, the calendar, the board meeting calendar. Should we bring them? Oh, Joan, do you have yours? Do you have yours? Sandy's got it? Okay, okay, good. All right. So the board meeting calendar for 2014, let's see if I can find this. Do we have, can we have a motion to adopt the calendar?
Can we have first I'd like to kind of bring up a little bit about our calendar and how it works. We do schedule our meetings every third Wednesday. We found that going once a month was a little too long, but twice a month was too quick. And so the 3-week time frame really worked. There are some months where I've either extended it or probably more extended it than anything because of ski week or winter break. So it's not always that third week. The other thing is we do our work studies on Wednesdays as well. We try to, so that we ask board members to, and we ask our schools to not schedule things on Wednesdays, so that gives us an opportunity to meet if we need to. For example, one of the practices we have is to do work studies if we want to go deeper into an item and have questions, etc. In January, however, we do have a request to change our first work study, which would have been on the 13th, 14th, I think, to the Monday of January 12th. And so I wanted to make sure that people saw that, and I'm thinking that maybe we might have a conflict. So
What time are they usually, 6?
6. 6 to.
Well, if I know ahead of time, I can sometimes, if it's not every month.
No, this I think is just one of those times where we wanted to, is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, so that's all I wanted to.
Okay.
So we'll leave it on the 12th?
Right. Is that okay?
All right, so do we have a motion to adopt this calendar?
So moved.
A second?
I second.
Discussion? No other issues around it? We're just, good. All right, all in favor?
Passes 5-0, thank you.
All right. Now we go with 7.8.8 Board Member Committee Assignments 2015.
So one of the practices that we do to ensure that we stay within Brown Act is to assign board members to certain committees where they can participate and bring back information, but not necessarily be a formal board meeting, so it doesn't need to have a formal agenda on it. What I'd like to do is maybe go through the various committees and assignments, have some conversation around it, and see if there's anyone who is interested in either changing committees or being assigned to that committee. So the first one is, these are what we call liaisons, so that you just sort of serve as a representative to the board, and that would be for the strategic plan. We did not have any meetings last year or we did have one or two meetings because of our LCAP, but the way we have structured our strategic plan is such that you really don't, it's around 21st century learning, so it really has sort of taken root in the state of California, as before when we first envisioned it, it was something a little new in the state. Now we all talk about the 5 Cs or the 4 Cs or the 6 Cs, whatever has been adopted by a district. And so I'm thinking that this might be a great liaison, so that if staff wanted to get input from a couple of board members, then we could call for a meeting and see what some next steps would be that we could then bring forward to the board at a later time. So is anyone, Andrea right now is serving on it, Joan was on that committee, so I didn't know if Andrea wanted to stay on it and if there was anyone else interested.
So does it make sense that that becomes kind of an LCAP kind of committee?
Well, we also do our stakeholder meetings, so we would have two. So the strategic plan people, actually, thank you for reminding me, came to stakeholder meetings. We had everybody. We did it as a work study. So.
Oh, that's true.
Did we have?
We did.
Or no? Maybe we had 2 people there then.
Yeah, I
Did you?
think there was a work study. I mean, there was an LCAP work study, but it was just for the board and the stakeholders.
So
were
this
present,
served as
so.
the strategic plan. We invited these 2 committee members to attend.
Okay, so I would like to stay into another round of that.
I wouldn't mind joining that if nobody objects.
Is that okay? Okay, audit review. Did you want to speak to what the audit review?
Yeah, so the audit reviews every year, the auditors come and they prepare like a very thick and incredibly boring report. So basically, it's, if you enjoyed the 100-page budget, you'll love the auditor's report. But it's basically reading the auditor's report and being prepared to meeting with the auditor, asking them questions and making sure that we, as the board, do due diligence to make sure that we understand the finances of the district from every possible direction. So I think it's a very important thing to do. It's not a huge time commitment because it only happens once a year. But don't all jump at once.
Does that mean you want to continue to do it, Matt?
I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine continuing on the audit review committee.
There's an open spot.
So do you want to think about it and we could come back? Okay. Boy, these guys are tough. Pacifica Education Foundation, Matt served as the liaison for that foundation.
I mean, I wanted to offer to maybe offer that to somebody else, only in the sense that I was not really able to go to PEF board meetings, and I really feel like to do a good job as the PEF liaison, someone should really be able to go to their meetings. So I don't know
I'm
if
at the board, okay.
we could have more than one. Right?
Yeah, we could post it.
I'm on the pet board, so I'm there anyway.
Okay, so I can put Elizabeth.
I'm going either way.
And Laverne. Okay. CPAC, they are meeting currently quarterly, and this is our Special Education Parent Advisory Committee. The next meetings will be next week, is that next week? 12/16, February the 24th, and April the 28th. I didn't look on, what days are those?
Those are Tuesday nights.
Tuesday.
7 to 8:30.
Would you like to do that?
I would.
Okay.
Thank you.
Kathy? Is that, Matt, is that okay?
Oh yeah, no,
Sorry.
it's totally fine. I mean, I've enjoyed it. I may occasionally show up anyway, but like, if that's okay.
We can serve together.
So,
Just make sure you stay at 2. That's all I have.
Noted.
Okay, so on standing committees, and these are agendized and Brown Act, so we do post these agendas. The first one is on the Parcel Tax Oversight Committee, and Josie really chairs that, and I support Josie at these meetings. We hold them in the winter, late fall, early winter. We just finished our last one. It's in the evening, and then they report out to us in January. So it's really one meeting, is that correct? And we need 2 people on that one.
I can do, what day of the week, or just?
It
they
depends.
set it up?
We
schedule it around your schedule.
Okay.
Is that okay? Okay, Elizabeth?
Do we need 2 for that committee?
Yeah, well, if we could, or do we need 2 on that?
We had 1 at one time, so it's
Okay.
okay to have 1.
Is that, so we could come back to that to see if anyone's interested in adding to that. The Wellness Committee, that really serves the purpose of us looking, and we've kind of expanded that. It started with just really looking at child nutrition, but we've expanded it now to the social emotional development, et cetera, of our students, physical fitness, making sure that we look at the whole child, but as far as wellness is concerned. That committee should have a meeting soon, then reports out to the board. Mark Lorenzen chairs that, I believe. Ray Avila supports that, along with Jennifer Gray. Do you have anything you would like to add to that?
Well, Mark and I are meeting tomorrow.
Okay.
To plan a date for the first wellness committee meeting, and then yes, we report out to the board.
That's kind of a fun committee. I'll stay on it if nobody else wants it, but if somebody else has an interest, it's fine. It's fun to meet with Mark and Ray and the PE teachers. It's a little different kind of meeting.
Yeah, see, it's all about wellness. Okay. Community liaisons. The Pacifica Collaborative, they meet the first Thursday of each month from 9 to 11, so it is a day meeting. And what that, the collaborative is about, they come to the boardroom, and it's the different agencies in Pacifica and Daly City. And so they collaborate about some of the programs that they're doing for parent outreach and family support. And then they share services so that we might send out flyers or ensure that we have the right connection. We're connecting our families to appropriate services. Pacifica Library attends, the Parks, Beach, and Recreation attends from the city. So it's a pretty diverse group, but they do hear some interesting things and report back to their various agencies.
I'd like to be on that one.
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth. Okay, and then the Pacifica School District, JUHSD, and the city and the North Coast County Water District, we really sort of combined those two. Everybody seems to want to come at the same time. Kalima serves on that from JUHSD. and so that's why the two people are the same, because it's kind of the same meeting. And what we do there is we talk about what's happening in each of our areas and share ideas and try to support one another. Okay, Laverne?
Me too.
Oh.
If that's,
No, we can't do.
since you booted me off, see.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Laverne and Matt. Okay. San Mateo County School Boards Association, they meet periodically. I don't know if they have a real schedule, but they have each, is it once a month?
We have the dinners are quarterly.
Oh, dinners are,
Yeah, and then so there's a little meeting beforehand, and then the dinner with the speaker. The recent one was on the was on Skyline. Was on the community college.
community college. So, and sometimes we attend those. We're part of CSBA, and we're part of the San Mateo County School Boards Association. We get news emails about some of their activities. The activity that you attended on that Saturday morning was San Mateo County School Boards Association. And Matt served as the liaison for that.
It's a really, I mean, I like the dinners. I would recommend it for a new board member because you get to meet a lot of the other board members in the county. So it's really good for that, and they bring a lot of really interesting speakers. So it's actually a really great way to sort of like educate yourself as a board member.
Yeah, get your feet
I'm happy to continue to do it, but if somebody would like to, either do it or or join me or whatever, that's fine.
How often do you meet?
I think
It's, I mean, like the meetings are, they have
quarterly,
the
you said?
quarterly, yeah.
All right, so I would be interested in serving on that with you.
Okay.
So, both of you?
Sure.
Okay.
Why not?
Okay. Kent Awards, Andrea?
I've done this for a couple of years. You go and you can look at all the entries for the Kent Awards and grade them, and then you if somebody whose entry you looked at is being put up for an award, you go and you tour that school and or district or whatever it is, and to kind of verify what they've said in their entry. Really interesting. Then you go to the Kent Awards, but we all go to the Kent Awards anyway if we have the time. So it's just being in that other step of involving of looking at the entries that it's interesting. So, I could keep it or I could give it away.
Okay.
Didn't sell it very well, did I?
And then
Okay,
you're next
fine.
again, the governing board representative to the County Committee on School District Organizations.
This committee meets once a year, and they have to have a quorum of people so they can have a vote. So that's how they get you there. And Clemo and I go there once a year and vote, and there's never any real vote because it's just, they never have any more people run than there are positions. So you sit at the county office for no more than an hour and a half, and once a year. And again, happy to keep it, but if somebody is interested in these district organization boundaries and stuff that, you know.
But we are gonna have an item,
Oh,
maybe, on
that,
our
what, January, we gotta talk about the boundaries,
So,
so, yeah.
sometime.
I'll do it.
Oh, thank you, Laverne. Okay, so I think we have, everybody is signed. I want to review, on the audit review, there's only one person, Matt.
I'll do that.
Oh, Kathy. And then Parcel Tax Oversight Committee. Elizabeth is
That's
now
what-
on it.
Yeah.
And then, does anyone else want to serve on that, or one person is fine? Okay, is that okay? Okay, thank you.
Okay, do we do anything with this?
I don't think we need to, or maybe we should go, we could go ahead and do an action.
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve the committee assignments?
I move to approve the committee assignments.
Do you have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Passes 5-0, thank you.
I thought you were seconding.
I know.
By sneezing.
Okay, yes. That's a different way of doing a second. Okay, so now we have the delegation of authority.
So this is resolution number 20141210D. And delegation of authority is to allow the superintendent to address routine issues that may arise for district management on a day-to-day basis. It may include hiring, accepting resignations, signing off on contracts up to a certain amount, that type of thing.
So do we do the whereases and the what fors?
No, I don't think you need to.
Oh, okay, so we do have
Unless
to vote on
there's a-
this.
yeah.
Okay.
I move we accept the delegation of authority.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Passes 5-0, thank you.
Ooh, okay. Item 8, approval of the minutes of November 19th, 2014.
Move that we approve the minutes of November 19th.
Do we have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Passes 5-0, thank you.
All right, done with that. All right. Approval of the agenda and consent agenda. We're all okay with this? I'm just gonna see if anybody's like, usually it's Eric that would pop up and go, no, wait.
I move approval of the agenda and consent agenda if no one objects.
Do we have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Passes 5-0, thank you.
Okay, so now, wait, we're down to 10, communications. That was supposed to happen an hour ago? Woo!
Well, most days it happens an hour ago.
All right, so LSCA,
Already done.
CSEA? People wishing to address the board, I have Paula Texera, thank you.
So I'm here from the Pacifica Library, and I wanted to share an opportunity for the middle schoolers in the district. We're having a movie project called Dig It. It's a short, only under 10 minutes, and so they can submit their films and win prizes. We have 3 prizes. First is $150, second is $100, and the third is $75. But the great thing is, if kids don't have a camera, we are renting an HD camera from the library. They just need their library card. And if they need to edit their films, we have an iMac. They have to go to the library and use it there. With iMovie and Final Cut Pro and GarageBand if they want to make their own music. And so we're hoping to get the word out to all the teens. We're trying to find someone to have some workshops to show editing and Matt. And Actually, I have some other leads. So I'm starting at the top and trying to get this trickle down to the KAICS and IBL, and hopefully we get a lot of kids who will submit their films. The film festival itself is going to be held at the Belmont Library, but they don't even need to attend. They can give me the film on a flash drive and I send it down to them. So, thank you.
Hey, Paula, which Pacifica Library is the?
Oh, Sharp
at?
Park.
Sharp Park?
Yeah,
Okay.
the Sharp Park, yes.
And you have information to leave with us?
Oh, yes I do. I'll leave it all.
So what we can, do you have this on a?
Yes.
Okay, so if you
You want me to
send.
send it to Angie?
Mhm.
Okay.
And then we'll get it to the schools and post it.
Okay, thank you.
All right, there's no more cards? Nobody else expected to be called up? All right. Lost my place here. Correspondence, thank you. There is no correspondence?
No.
Oh, okay. All right, that's done. Board Superintendent Communications. Okay, so this would be the part of the meeting where we report out on what we have done in the experience in the community with the school. And we usually kind of have communicate, we kind of look at what we've done since the last board meeting. But since you haven't been here for the last board meeting.
Could I just say one thing, two things? I just wanted to take a moment to recognize in my other life, I work for the library system, and the library does do a lot of collaboration, of course, with our schools. And I wanted to take a moment to recognize Barbara Amberg, who was a past children's librarian at Sanchez. She was sort of the face of Sanchez for many years, and she passed away last month, and it's a great, great loss. And I also wanted to take a moment to recognize Lisa Lynn, who, since Barbara has been our children's librarian again at Sanchez, and she is leaving us actually this weekend, again for another position. Her leaving is a little different, good for her, but again, she's done a lot of work between the library and the schools and doing presentations and helping many, many of our families come in for research topics. So I just wanted to take a moment and highlight those two women.
Thank you. That would be appropriate for the communications part. Yay, yay, yay.
Do you want to maybe propose, can we propose adjourning the meeting in Barbara's honor?
That would be lovely. Thank you.
Oh. Okay, any other board superintendent communications?
In the interest of moving this along.
Okay.
Never mind.
Okay, and there was, I did do the meeting that we talked about earlier, that we will have, instead of reporting out tonight on the redistricting, we will have a presentation on the redistricting, so I'll just let you know on that.
Okay, so is it my?
Yeah, your turn.
Okay, so it's my turn. Well, first of all, I want to make sure that the information has been placed due to the storm situation that may hit our area sometime late this evening, if not early in the morning. The weather report is calculating that the storm could hit us hard around commuter time. So the decision was made to close our schools tomorrow. We anticipate opening on Friday, but for the safety of our families, we wanted to make certain that people stayed off the streets as much as possible. We think that there could be some flooding. We think our schools are good. We've already done our safety checks on those, but when I heard about the potential 80-mile-an-hour winds, I got a bit frightened. And the downpour could occur at that time, and our roads could be somewhat flooded. So I wanted to make certain. So tomorrow we will be closed. There will be people in the district office, however, to answer phones and questions, etc. Okay. Additionally, I did want to talk a little bit around open communications. First of all, I wanted to make certain that it's understood that the board does support the public an opportunity to comment on topics not on the agenda, and that happens during open communications. We, the trustees and staff, which I include Ray, Josie, myself, and Sandy, we listen very intently to incorporate the thoughts that are coming up in our open communications and see if we can act on them. But as a rule, the board rarely responds to individual speakers because, we want to make sure that we follow the Brown Act. However, the Brown Act does allow for the board to, what they say briefly, or what is written, briefly respond to statement made or questions posed by people. So tonight we'd like to exercise our rights during this agenda item. In light of the recent board meetings that we've had of open communications and the comments being made from Pacifica School District employees and community members, we thought it important that we, from the board's point of view, have an opportunity to exercise and briefly respond to that. So at this time, during board superintendent communications, on behalf of the board, I will address some items that we believe will help to keep both district and community at large well and accurately informed. And the area that I'm going to speak about are the communications on negotiations that were shared over the last 4 meetings. In one of the statements, it was made that the administrators were given raises. I do want to acknowledge that administrators as a unit have capped their benefits at $10,500 since 2004-2005 academic year. So in lieu of the increases on their benefits, administrators have chosen as a practice to apply the percentage of benefit increase directly to their salaries. It was also stated that Pacifica School District hired Lucy Calkins. Lucy Calkins is a developer of the balanced literacy curriculum that we support in our district, and flew her from New York to work with our principals. I wanted to acknowledge that Pacifica School District did not hire Lucy Calkins, nor did Pacifica School District fly Lucy Calkins out to California. Pacifica School District administrators did attend and participate in a San Mateo County Office of Education professional development opportunity that featured Lucy Calkins as a guest speaker, and it was a wonderful day, and I believe that the administrators appreciated the opportunity to hear specifically from that particular person. It was stated that the district has spent $2 million on professional development. I wanted it noted that over the past 3 years, we have spent about $900,000. And of the training for the teachers, it has been around the new Common Core standards, so we felt that extremely important. The vast majority of those funds came from federal, state, or local grants, and a significant portion of those funds has gone to pay teachers stipends to attend the training. In addition, we did not use any of the base funding from the local control funding formula. There's the base funding and then the supplemental funding. We did not use the base funding, and that is the area of the funding source where you would get your total compensation, salaries, health benefits. Finally, I encourage the district employees and community members to please go to our website. We have information regarding the progress of negotiations. We do have a frequently asked questions document posted there that we try to keep current when we hear comments that come up. For example, we do have on there the rationale behind the current offer as guided by the trustees. We do have on there how the impact of the current offer will be different based on an individual choice. We do have what the purpose of impasse process as an extension of negotiations is all about, and we do have information regarding the expenditures of our parcel tax. A report on our expenditures of the parcel tax will be on the January agenda for those who are interested, and reported out by a member from the Parcel Tax Oversight Committee, where we meet annually to ensure that we do expend it appropriately. And Josie Peterson, our Chief Business Official, will be providing an update regarding expenditures for the parcel tax during her presentation. So if the audience could stay and listen to that piece on the first interim report, that might be helpful as well. Other than that, we will be attending. We appreciate the new school board members that spending their weekend attending the CSBA conference. It's a wonderful conference for us to get to hear what some current workings are and what's happening in the state, and also to go to that additional day for new board members so that you can hear kind of from those who really help guide our work throughout the state from this California School Boards Association. So, thank you.
All right, so item 11, district business, certification of the first interim report, 2014-15. Ms. Peterson.
I do realize that you guys are behind schedule, so I'm gonna go a little bit fast, so please stop me and ask questions at any time. I have a PowerPoint that Nelson's gonna bring up. The first interim report is really a budget update, because when we adopted our budget in June, we were going off the information we had as of May. So the first interim report is where the board will certify the current financial situation, the actuals through October 31st, and then an updated budget based on the current information. The first interim is about 100 pages, and so a good summary of the first interim is the board certification page. The first 3 pages talk about the board is going to certify the report as positive, which means the district will meet its financial obligations for the current fiscal year and 2 fiscal years out. And in that first 3 pages, it talks about what are the fiscal indicators and where we met those fiscal indicators and where some items might not be met. And those would be the key areas I would focus on if I was trying to read through that first interim report. So I prepared a short PowerPoint. I have 4 copies here if anybody in the audience wants a copy of the PowerPoint. It is also posted on our website. So kind of a review. Over the last few years, especially with the change in funding formula, the board did establish some guiding principles, and that is a balanced investment in people, operations, and program for the benefit of our students. The budget cycle, this is a review of our budget cycle. As I said, the budget was adopted in June based on the governor's May revision. The state adopted the budget after we adopted our budget. And so when the state adopted the final budget, there were some changes in the revenue projections. First interim is where we are today, and this report is more accurate because it does contain the current salary and benefits of our employees and the current revenues of the state. It has more accurate expenditure projections for this fiscal year. And then we'll be working on second interim and the unaudited actuals. So kind of a review, last year the state adopted a new local funding formula. It was designed to address inequities in school funding, and it is an 8-year transition. It does increase flexibility for school districts. It's a funding formula by grade level, and then there are some supplemental funds for students of need, and those are your English language students, your foster students, and your students who are on the free and reduced program. Here is, on the next page, is our budget assumptions. And this is pretty similar to the governor's, actually our budget adoption in June. There were some slight changes in the gap funding. It's about $86,000 more. in funding for our school district for the current year. And the biggest change would be the mandated revenue. So what mandated revenue is the state would have some activities they require school districts to do. For example, PE testing, scoliosis testing. There was a whole list of activities that school districts were required to adhere to and submit claims. Well, for many, many years, we submitted the claims and the state ran out of money, so they stopped paying us. So you might hear that referred to as the wall of debt. The state built up this huge wall of debt. Well, this year, after they, when they adopted the budget, they realized they had some additional funds, and so they issued that to school districts as mandate reimbursements. They gave a dollar amount per student to pay old mandate claims. So whether or not the school district was owed mandate claims, some school districts weren't, they still received these funds. And the state basically said these are for implementation of Common Core. And then the Prop 39 is your energy efficiency, that's the same, and our parcel tax revenue. I have a whole slide on parcel tax coming up. This is just a pie chart showing you a breakdown of the first interim revenues by category and by percentage, kind of a good visual for you to see of where our revenues are coming from. And on the right it says LCFF, 33% revenues. There's a big change here from the adopted budget because when we adopted the budget, we weren't getting much in property taxes. But because of the shift in the county where there was more districts going from like what you used to call basic aid to state funded, it has to do with that old triple flip and the negative ERAF, and we can go into a detailed discussion of that for the new board members if they want to at another time, but there was a negative property tax base in San Mateo County being spread amongst 5 school districts. And more school districts are flipping from basic aid or community funded where they have so much in property taxes to state aid funded where they're getting all of their funding from the state. And when those districts flip, they absorb more of the negative property taxes, and now we're getting property taxes because of that shift. And so you're going to see some changes there in property taxes and LCFF funding. The total is the same. We're getting the same amount of money. It's just how we're receiving the money. Matt?
Yeah, and just to clarify for everybody, so when you talk about the part of the budget that is essentially equivalent to what we used to call unrestricted money, that is now LCFF plus property taxes. That's the same.
That is correct, and you can include Prop 30 because Prop 30 is also part of that old formula. But they broke it out in a different category because that is scheduled to sunset in the coming years, and I have a slide on that as well. Any other questions? Okay, expenditure assumptions. Like I said, this is more accurate budget because at the time we adopted the budget, we didn't have all of the actual staff salaries and benefits, and now we have exact costs for salary and benefits. We did not include raises in this budget because we are still in negotiations with our labor partners. And it does include funding minimum proportionality. So what that is as the state's giving us LCFF funding, a portion of those funds needs to go to the students of need, the foster youth, the free and reduced, and the English learners. And that amount is included in our LCAP, our Local Control Accountability Plan. We have a very detailed discussion of how those funds are being spent, and it's in our budget, and it's aligned, and that's one of the areas we have to continue to watch and keep in alignment as we move forward. One of the things that's in this budget that was not in the adopted budget is carryover funds. When we closed the books last year, some of the accounts, site budgets and other accounts like textbooks were not fully spent. So you'll see a big shift in expenditures because now we've added in the carryover funds in the first interim report. Another item that we did not have in the adopted budget because we were not clear at the time, we were going through an RFP process with our child nutrition program, and we weren't quite sure how that was going to come out. Well, we now have a loss in the child nutrition program where the district general fund will be contributing $40,000 to the food service child nutrition fund. That amount will actually go up after the school closure tomorrow because when we close school, we've already have salaries and food in place. So this happened with the tsunami several years ago, and we recognized a loss at that time as well. So that's another change from the adopted budget. We continue to budget to transfer funds to deferred maintenance. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a coming slide on deferred maintenance of how those funds are going to be spent. Here's a breakdown of the expenditures by category. You can see that on the right-hand side, teacher salaries is 37%, classified 12%, administration 7%, benefits are 27% of the budget, and that includes all of your benefits, health benefits and the fixed payroll costs. It's actually broken down here on the next slide, a breakdown of how the benefits are. And what that is workers' compensation is 5%. Retiree benefits, we pay for the health benefits of employees when they retire from the school district, and that's about $690,000 a year, 10% of the benefit costs. Then we also pay what is retirement for certificated and classified employees. It's called STRS and PERS, and that's 14% and 9% of the budget. And then there's Medicare, and then health insurance. Health and dental insurance would be the biggest piece of the breakdown in benefits. Just kind of reviewing the multi-year assumptions, there were some changes from our adopted budget to now. There was some changes in the state's predictions for revenue funding for 15-16 and 16-17. Those percentages changed slightly. 15-16 went down from what we had in the adopted budget. The other thing that we're watching very closely is enrollment. Our enrollment is now declining. We knew we were going to have declining enrollment for this year, but we know that you can use the prior year's enrollment numbers when you're calculating your budget. The state allows you to use the current year or the prior year, whichever is higher. So we knew that our budget for 14-15 was good, but then now we're seeing that our enrollment is not picking up in 15-16. So we're going to see a decline in revenue for 15-16 if we don't get more students in January, if the enrollment doesn't pick up. Another change from the adopted budget was I crossed off transfer LCFF to reserves because we had a lot of discussions about reserves and what are appropriate reserves. We've had a lot of recommendations from school services and CSBA. There were some discussions about changing board policy and setting a reserve percentage to as high as 17% was the recommendation by either school services or CSBA. So we knew we couldn't reach that level, in the situation our school district is in, but the board had talked about adding $125,000 a year to reserves and to slowly grow the reserves. And given the current salary proposal that's on the table with our labor partners, the board has now realized that that's not something that we can do at this time, is to continue adding to reserves. So, and I do have another slide, we'll talk a little bit more about reserves going forward. Then the rest of the assumptions in the multi-year are pretty much the same as the adopted budget. This is a summary of the multi-year projections. This is what's in the first interim report, and you can see at the bottom where our reserve levels are right now. Now, one thing that's important to point out about the multi-year projections is we have been deficit spending for many, many years. The funding didn't start changing until 2013-14, and when we were in 2013-14, we had a large ending fund balance, a large amount of unallocated cash. And the reason for that was because we were bracing ourselves for budget cuts, and that was when Proposition 30 was on the ballot. And when Proposition 30 passed, it didn't add funds to school districts, but it did prevent budget cuts. And so many school districts had high reserves at that time, and last year we were able to give raises to our employees. And we gave raises with one-time funds, knowing that we would have funds in 14-15, LCFF funds, to pay the ongoing cost of those increases. So we are deficit spending from last year through this year, even into 15-16, and that's the year we're watching very closely. I'm hearing that the state revenues are going to go up for 15-16, but I'm also watching our enrollment very closely because we are in a declining enrollment right now. Then 16-17 is the year where we receive a lot more LCFF funding and we have a surplus. So that's a summary. These are some things we've been talking about that we really need to keep a close eye on. Prop 30 sunsets. and I'll show you those amounts in the next slide. The parcel tax sunsets in 2017, so we did form a subcommittee of the board, and we were talking about when are we going to go back out for a parcel tax? Will we hire a consultant? Will we do surveying? So, you know, as the new year comes on, we're going to start talking about that some more and figuring out some timelines. Health benefit cost increases, we've been in negotiations about cost containment or employee contributions to health insurance. We have not yet figured out the impact of the Affordable Care Act, but that could be a budget increase in our multi-year enrollment, and then I talked about the retirement. And then I'm going to talk about the other funds as well. So here's the slide on Prop 30. It gives you the dollar amounts of when the sales tax and the tax on the high income earners begin sunsetting. You can see that it's up to $1.5 million of income for our school district. And what I'm hearing at the state level is they're talking about extending the taxes. And so, you know, that there's some talk that some of these taxes will be extended and it won't be a loss of funds. The other thing is the state will need to backfill those funds. If they allow Proposition 30 to sunset, then that'll have to come out of LCFF funds, or the state will have to find ways to make up for those funds. So some additional budget considerations, the parcel tax, of course, and then the other district funds. The deferred maintenance fund, the board has now committed $240,000 a year to deferred maintenance. We do have two projects in the works. We have a flooding issue at Ortega, which we're working with the city of Pacifica on, and that could cost $150,000 for our school district, and we're going to be incurring those costs within the next 6 to 8 months. And then the child nutrition fund, we need to look at the loss in that fund and how can we kind of either increase sales, restructure the program so that we can have a break-even program, and then reserves. So here's a parcel tax report. Our committee met on November 10th. As Wendy said, we meet in late fall, and that's pretty flexible. As soon as the books are closed, we can schedule a meeting. And you can see 13-14, there was a balance there of $235,000 from the prior year. We receive about $1.3 million a year, and there's a breakdown of how the funds were spent in 13-14. Teacher salaries, beginning teacher program, the literacy and math coaching, geometry, and the counseling program. And then towards the end of the year last year, the board was reviewing the parcel tax expenditures during our study sessions, and we talked about the ending fund balance of the $250,000, and technology fits into the parcel tax ballot language, and we were going through our technology infrastructure at that time, and so the decision was made to use one-time funds for the one-time purchases. And that's why you see a $250,000 expense last year for technology. Then for this year, really what we're using parcel tax funds for is teacher salaries, the beginning teacher program, and the counseling program. And the committee will be coming to the board in January to give their report on the parcel tax. And here's a summary of the other funds the Pacifica School District holds. Child nutrition has a balance of $139,000. Currently, deferred maintenance has $174,000. Special reserve fund is specifically a reserve that the board has in addition to the 3% reserve for economic uncertainty in the general fund, and that is a $714,000. Building fund is very restricted. Those funds are still there from one of the sale of sites of one of the old schools that was sold, and the board has been using those funds for play structures. We were able to implement a whole play structure replacement the last 3 years. And so there's still some funds there. As those play structures start to need replacement, the board could use those to replace play structures. Capital Outlay Fund 40, that is the fund where the lease income, we have a lot of tenants throughout the district, you'd be surprised, but all of the daycares and Lindemar, Odstad, cell towers at IBL, Fairmont rents the field to St. Ignatius. We earn over $600,000 in lease income. And many, many years ago during the budget crisis, we started depositing all those funds into the general fund to balance our budget. And now that we're starting to get more LCFF funds, really you should put the lease income back into the capital fund and back into facilities. You get the funds from facility rentals, and you should put the money back into maintaining the facilities and the infrastructure. So we've been using the funds for the technology plan to fund the infrastructure for technology and to replace furniture in classrooms. Every year the principals have a classroom or two of furniture that needs replacement. And then freezers, refrigerators for the kitchens, and vehicles if needed. That's what those funds are used for. The capital developer fee fund, whenever there's construction in Pacifica, people file a permit if they're remodeling or constructing a home. And the high school district collects the fee, and they split the fee between Pacifica, Brisbane, Bayshore, whatever area the construction is. And those fees are very restricted. You can only use those funds for areas of growth. So if you wanted to put a portable in because your enrollment is increasing, or we used the funds for the Valley Mar turnaround when we had a lot of traffic in Valley Mar. And there really isn't a lot of money in those funds, but if there was more development in Pacifica, then we could start talking about some projects that we might want to start doing. And then the last fund is Retiree Benefit Fund. We pretty much keep a balance of 1 year's worth of costs. We pay for retiree benefits for up to 10 years when employees retire, and it's about $680,000 a year. And so I don't know if the actuary will come to a board meeting, but the auditor will have the actuary report included in their audit. And based on their report, we should have $10.5 million set aside to pay for retiree costs. So we're doing what you call pay-as-you-go, and we pay the bills monthly as they come. We don't carry a large balance for retiree costs. So I talked already about deferred maintenance. I didn't mention that we're very far behind on our painting schedule. We're supposed to be painting a school a year. We were able to paint Valley Mar, Sunset Ridge, and IBL, and then we really fell off schedule because we didn't have the funds. So our new director has come in and done an analysis of the district, and we need to go back and paint Sunset Ridge again. So he's got a painting schedule. He's going to go out to bid in February, and we'll begin our schedule in June. So every year we're going to begin painting a school, and he's going to do it based on which schools need it the most. So we aren't going to bypass a couple schools this year, but they are in good condition, so we'll paint Sunset Ridge. And then child nutrition program, we talked about that, and we'll talk to the board in February about maybe some restructuring in that program so we can try to run a break-even program. And then reserves, 3% is what's required, and that's calculated on your total budget. And then this is a summary of what school services put together last year, but they used 2012, 2013 data. Statewide elementary schools averaged 23% for reserves, and comparing us to that same year, we were 10%. So under half of what the average was. So just kind of keep that in mind where we are with reserves in comparison to other school districts.
Can you talk about Prop 2, because that's...
I did add it on the bottom, didn't I? But I didn't talk about it. So Prop 2 just passed, and that's the state's rainy day fund. And there's a whole complicated slew of triggers where when certain factors are met, it's going to trigger the rainy day fund. And then the state will need to deposit funds into the rainy day fund. And based on your school district size, 40,000 students or less is where we lie, you can only keep twice the amount of the reserve. So 3% is the required reserve for economic uncertainty. If Prop 2 goes into effect, we should only have 6%. And for Prop 2 to go into effect, like I said, there's many factors that have to happen, and then the state has to deposit money. So it's a few years out, but it is something to consider because 6% is pretty low when you look at our budget, our circumstances. We've had situations in the past where a special education settlement could cost us $100,000, $150,000. You really should, it would be, to have more than 6% reserve is what's required. Both school services and CSBA require much higher reserves because of all the different extenuating circumstances that could happen to school districts. I have a list here on this page of why districts should carry more than the minimum reserve. And you just never know. You have one-time outlays like the Ortega flooding. That will end up coming from the general fund. Those kind of things will end up coming from the general fund and will come from reserves.
Or
Matt?
for instance, this year, the Wi-Fi upgrade went way over, and luckily we had the parcel tax
Mhm.
funds to pay for that, but that was $250,000 that we needed to prepare for SBAC that we had no idea was coming.
Yes. Any type of unforeseen circumstance. And each district is unique, so we need to determine what is the best level of reserve for our school district. So I know I went really fast, but I know we were an hour behind schedule. So if you have questions or comments.
Go ahead,
You can
go ahead.
first.
Okay,
I wanted
still
to,
looking for-
I apologize if I take a couple of minutes, but I want to sort of summarize, like, 2 years of budget decisions from my perspective, sort of in a couple of minutes so that people can understand. And I want everyone, because that's how long I've been on the board. Part of this is for the public and for our labor partners, and part of it for the new board members, so that they understand where my head was at personally when these things were done. And I wanted to start by, I actually went back to, because obviously since the first interim is what's done at the December meeting, that was the very first thing that I approved. It's like you, I walked up here and they said, here's 100 pages of budget. So I went back to that and compared like a few things just to understand, how compensation had changed. And just for reference, in the first interim that I did in 2012, certificated salaries cost $10.3 million, and in this report they're $11.4 million. Health and welfare benefits were $3.74 million, and now they're $4.24 million. And nobody's saying that they want the increases in these numbers to go to zero. But I just want people to understand like where it's been over the past 2 years. Those are the increases that have occurred in those categories. And I understand that the budget feels like mumbo jumbo. Like I think a lot, like for a year when I first started reading these documents, I really didn't know where to start, and it feels a little bit like you can show the numbers any way you want so that they come out the way that you like them. But I think that I've come after 2 years to a fairly good understanding of what it is that we can and can't do, and what it is that we have tried to do. So I wanted to explain a little bit of some of the changes that the board has approved over the last 2 years, and give people the rationale for why we did that. So out of LCFF funds, there are sort of 2 yearly chunks that the board has carved out. One is $240,000 for deferred maintenance. We carve that out every year because in the good old days, the state, when there were categoricals, the state would provide $120,000 in deferred maintenance funds, and we were expected to match that. And so those were the funds that we set aside to make sure that the schools could get painted and stuff. And for years, because categorical funds disappeared, and because we just didn't have funds for it, like we just didn't paint schools, and there were no there were no deferred maintenance funds. So we feel that it's extremely important that we carve a chunk out of that to make sure that we can keep the schools up. The taxpayers of Pacifica have a 30-year bond on those schools that started in 1997. So we, realistically speaking, I'm hoping we don't have to go back to them before 2027 and tell them we need another, 30 million or whatever. So I think that the maintenance is very important. That was our rationale for that. And the other is the technology piece. We had talked at one point about, what our needs were, and we had a committee that included a wide variety of jobs in the district to discuss what a 21st century classroom should look like, and what it should include, and what it would cost us to get there, and how soon we ought to get there. And what we decided was that rather than spend all the funds at once and update everybody immediately, it made a lot more sense for us to, again, take a piece and carve it out of, in this case, the capital outlay fund, the lease income. So we take $100,000 of lease income every year and allocate that to improving computers. And so we have a sort of long-term plan to gradually revamp all of the computer labs, buy more crash carts for classrooms and so forth and so on. And our hope really with that is that if we continue to do this on a yearly basis, that we will not get to the point where, people go, wow, you have, what's with all that old garbage you have in the classroom? We have to go find some, we have to go find some money to buy all the new stuff, that everything will be on like a 5 or 7 year cycle of renewal, so that as things get older, we are automatically going back and revamping them. And I have to say, like, I want in this area, I want to give credit. I really want to give credit to the teachers of Pacifica, because PEF started this. PEF started the 21st Century Learning Initiative, but it was so well implemented and received by the teachers of this district that really, like, I've been personally really amazed to see what happens in this district. That we no longer really have a need to, like, tell people how this works. Like, I think people are doing that automatically. Last year we visited a school in Cupertino that was presented to us as like, this is like the world's most fabulous school where they do all this cool technology stuff. And after, and during that tour, we were introduced to somebody from Sacramento who was in the state working on 21st century education. And I was like, you know what, like, you need to come visit Pacifica, because really, like, this is okay, but nothing is going on here that isn't going on for us, and we have a lot less money than they do. So there. So I think that what makes this possible, and we're going to come back to that in a sec, is we want to make sure that we are able to continue doing that, and this is not. These are tools that we want teachers to be able to have. And then I wanted to talk briefly about new employees, because I know that that's a serious sticking point and something that upsets people, and that's understandable. Here's what I believe, and all of this, but just so everybody knows, like, all of this happens at public meetings, and I know nobody these meetings are unbearably boring, and nobody is more bored than me, but they all happen in public. We make these decisions, and we make these decisions at meetings where the public is entitled to come. And we really do hope that, as boring as it is, you will come and you'll see the decisions that we make. And if you don't like things that you see, that you will speak up and say, like, I would really like to question that decision that you make. So here's what I got, and stop me if anybody remembers anything that we didn't do. We have the K-8 PE teacher. I think that was a very important decision. Like, PE is the only subject that the exact number of minutes is mandated by law, and because the K-8 teachers didn't have K-8s didn't have a PE teacher, in middle school the number of minutes doubles, and I think that we were really just not doing justice to those students. Like, it was really like, in all frankness and honesty, I think this is something that we should have been doing, and as long as, like, we had budget excuses, I think it could be defended, but I really don't. I think it reached the point where it was really kind of hard to defend that, piece. The vice principal at Sunset Ridge had a teacher on special assignment that was serving as vice principal, and she was wonderful, and she left, and but there are certain things that a TSA can't do, and so. Because Sunset Ridge is our largest school and serves a very different population, I think it would be awesome if one day all the principals could have vice principals. But barring that, we felt it was really important for Sunset Ridge to have that. And if there's, if you know Ellie and she works as hard as everybody and then some, we've really felt that support was warranted. So. So on my head with that one, if you think. The next thing is Steve Kiesel. We moved Steve Kiesel from PEF funding to district funding. He is not on those pieces, LCFF and so forth. Like, Steve is not on those because Josie mentioned proportionality and how, like, we need to demonstrate how we're meeting the needs of poor and English language learner students. So there is a chunk of money that needs to be, that we need to demonstrate that. And so Steve's job was transformed. He's not in charge of 21st century learning anymore. We don't really need anyone to be in charge of that anymore. So he is the access Equity, and Innovation Coordinator. Am I right? Yes, the specialist, I'm sorry. And so his job is going to be to look for new and exciting ways that we can serve the needs of those students. And so, like I said, he's not on the, he's not in those unrestricted funds anyway, but we thought that that was a good opportunity. And it was also a good opportunity both because he wasn't needed in 21st century learning anymore. It provides a great opportunity for PEF to do something else. And I want to talk again to a personal priority of mine, which is a broad course of study. I mean, I think that over time we have started to see how education has become English and math because that's all we test. And so there is this huge, this huge emphasis on narrowing things that way, and that is, that's not fair both to the students and to the teachers that we expect to carry such a humongous load in adding anything else in that needs to get added in. That's not fair. So it's my hope that with PEF's new programs that they want to support music in the K-5s and they want to support coding in the middle schools, that will provide opportunities for a more broad-based course of study. So that's a priority that I hope the rest of the board shares, and I hope that this will make it possible again without wasting unrestricted money. And lastly, the technology associate, who is that the right term for that job? Is it technology associate?
David Garibaldi?
Yeah, is it like
technology support technician?
Technology support technician, thank you. And that is because we are essentially a $25 million company up till then with one IT employee who's sitting right over here. And God bless Nelson, but
now we got two.
So now we have two, and that was becoming very difficult, not even in the sense that Nelson couldn't handle it because he's a tremendously capable person, but he can't be in two places at once. And if something breaks on opposite ends of the district at once, that was becoming extremely problematic with the extra amount of technology that we were being asked to service. So I don't think there's any argument that two IT employees in a district this large is a terrible thing. And then lastly, I'd like to fall on my sword a little bit, and that is with regard to the PD, because I have heard that some of the PD was not as effective as we really would have liked it to be, and had obviously hindsight's 20/20. If we had known that it wasn't going to that people were not going to be as satisfied with it as they should have been, obviously we would have looked at doing this a different way. But the math PD, the SVMI PD, was essentially paid entirely by grant. So we got this, we got this great grant. It was like, all you have to do, we'll pay for all the training. All you need to do is pay the teachers to show up. And it sounded like a great opportunity. And SVMI has in the past done tremendous work. And all I can say on that score is, gosh, I'm really sorry that wasn't truly effective. I don't know that there was an alternative. I do think that it is important. I think that the PD was important partly because we wanted to really prioritize math. I think that we wanted to, we had spent so much time investing in balanced literacy that the board that last year had felt that we really ought to put some emphasis on math and get everybody onto the same footing. So this was part of that. And again, I personally apologize to people who feel like their time was wasted by that, or that money was wasted on that. The only thing I have to say in our defense is that the money that was wasted came from Common Core funding that had very limited applicability, and that's all I got.
So when you speak, I think that so much of the thought process that goes on with us on the board is how do we make this a better educational experience for Pacifica kids, and I think that we come from the right place when we think about the expenditures and we discuss what we're going to spend the money on. We think about we really think about the educational process, and we at the same time I feel like we're really responsive to the community. You know, we're not out there to waste the community's money. I mean, that's never been our motivation. Is let's just go out. I think we have been very frugal about spending money and getting a lot of bang for our buck when we do it. And I've always been proud of that we get things that other districts that have a lot more money don't seem to be able to get. And in coming from the right place, I think that the decisions that we make are vetted. They're sound decisions. I think that I can stand behind everything that we have come across as a board in the last 2 years, as being I keep saying to people, I cannot in good conscience say we shouldn't have professional development. I mean, it has to happen in any in any business that you're in. You have to pay for some kind of professional development, we've done all of that, and we've tried to work within a very tight budget to try to put money into deferred maintenance so that we don't waste the community's money on that bond. And we keep our schools in good shape so that it's still a proud moment to go into a Pacifica school, even though the modernization has happened quite a few years ago. We still got great looking schools. You can go around to other districts and they don't have that. We've also managed to give some raises to the teachers. In all of that, we've been able to eke out and take a risk, saying, well, we're gonna do a little deficit spending because we really want the teachers to be able to have a salary they can start to think that they can live on, that they can pay their rent on. So I feel like we've come from a good place, and I would like to see us continue. We come from a real thoughtful place of where we're putting our money and what our motivations are around the money. And the budgets, budgets. I never had to deal with a budget. All I did was teach. That's been my job for 20 years. Is just to teach and to have to deal with this kind of money and figuring out where it's coming from, where it's going to. It has been very complex. Try to wrap my brain around this. And I agree. That first year of looking at it's like, okay, fine, that's the money. Okay, and now I can look at it after looking at these reports for a few years. I can finally say, okay, now I understand what she's talking about there, and where that money is coming from, so anyway, I think that with the new board members, you probably have. We're going to give you a little bit of time to come up to speed on budgets and spend as much time with Josie as you can, who is very respected in the community of CBOs. I talk to other CBOs, and they all know her, and they go, "Oh, she does such a great job, and she runs it on a shoestring budget, and she can find money from nowhere." So I think to ask her what she's doing and get her to explain things to you so that you can really get an understanding of dealing with this very difficult concept of this $27 million budget.
Fill out a card. Yeah. Just get. Can someone come and give this lady a card to fill out so that we can.
I think we're on the right track. Thanks for saying all that, man.
While we're waiting, if I could just interject about the professional development. As you alluded, that the last couple of them have been not at the standard that we're necessarily used to, and I think that it's because, SBMI is putting these transitional units together. It's the first time out in such a large scale. I do want to share that we have the opportunity to have our teachers fill out evaluations, and we took a look at them with SBMI, and so there's going to be a strong structural change the next go around, and we're thinking that it should hopefully be reflective of meeting the needs of the teachers in relationship to what the professional development could look like. Still using the transitional units as our skeleton of work. So they have been very responsive, and sometimes you hit the mark and sometimes you need to regroup.
So just to let you know about the public comment, we can have discussions amongst the 5 of us. We are free to talk to each other about an agendized item. You are, of course, free to listen. We do not have discussions with public during this time, so we're not going to have a back and forth with you. We can give you time to talk, but this is for these 5 people. We can't talk about budgets any other time, because then we get in violation of the Brown Act. So this is the only time we really get to have a back and forth about this. But you can talk individually to a board member. They can talk individually to you if you want to have a back and forth conversation with a board member. But otherwise, you can come up and you can make a statement, but it's not like we're going to respond back and forth and have a conversation with you, because that's.
But we can respond. We're allowed, since it's agendized, we're allowed to respond to anything that, if they ask a specific question, we're entitled to answer. We're entitled to answer it since it's agendized.
But this is our meeting. But yeah, so okay. But it's not.
Can I not ask her a question?
You can speak. We might you can have your few minutes.
It's not to the 5 of you.
I'm pretty sure she would answer a question if you asked it.
Otherwise, I can just email it.
Go up to the podium.
Go ask. Yeah,
so that
I think.
TV's
Oh my
people
gosh,
can.
this is just, it's too much. I'm not going up to the podium.
Okay.
Okay.
You
That's
want
fine.
Can we?
That's fine. If emails would be great.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, emails are great.
Yeah.
Can't you? Because I think we would like to know what it is that you have to ask. Like, I know it's really bizarre. I know it's really bizarre. It's televised for like the 2 people. Not to underestimate it, but I wouldn't worry about it.
Thank you.
Thank you for putting this together, Josie, and for your presentation. My name is Frank Hardcastle. I'm a parent at Bellamar. I just had a couple of questions about the budget assumptions. One was regarding how the property tax increases as we're coming out of recession and property values go up. Is that assumed in here, and is it really that much anyway? If, is the portion that would go to schools that much anyway? And then my second question is just regarding what the 29.56% cap funding means. Does that mean that you're only assuming 30%, or you're assuming the 70% that we do get that, and how much of our budget in the out years would be at risk? Because right now it looks like it's in the red, but in 16-17 it looks like it's starting to go back in the black, if I'm reading that correctly. And in those out years, like how much of the 650,000 would be at risk based on the assumptions? They're probably not short answers, but if those were my questions, I don't know if it's easier to email them to
So I
you
can
or to-
answer the questions, but then we can't have a back and forth discussion, is what I understand. So I did go very quickly on the PowerPoint. So I didn't really go into, I didn't really explain the LCFF formula that was instituted last year. So to answer the property tax question, the state has always had a calculation for school districts of how they're funded. School districts are funded on a per student basis. So historically, we were called a revenue limit school district, and all the school districts received a different amount of funding. And I'm just going to use 5,000 as a flat number. Pacifica was receiving, let's say, $5,000 per student. In all the 24 school districts in San Mateo County, everybody was getting different amounts. We were at the bottom. We were number 2, ahead of San Carlos. So you calculate how much you get per student, and then before the state pays you, the state deducts your property taxes. You're not going to get more or less money if your property taxes are less than what the amount per student comes out to be. So if it's $10 million and our property taxes are $5 million, the state's going to pay us the difference. We're not going to gain anything from having more or less property taxes in Pacifica because of the old funding formula, the way our school district is, and we're not in a rich community where our property taxes would exceed that number. Now, out of the 24 school districts, there are only 5 school districts that were funded, 5 districts that were funded like us at various times because districts can flip in and out of what they used to call basic aid funding. So all those other school districts, like let's say Hillsborough, the amount of money that they would get per student, their property taxes were more than that. So if it was $10 million is what they should get per student, and their property taxes were $20 million, well, they're going to get the whole amount. The state's not going to pay them anything because their property taxes exceed the amount per student. So in the old funding formula and also in the new funding formula, it works that way. The difference with the new funding formula is it is going to address those funding inequities. The state's giving us an amount per student, and they call it a target amount. So they've established a target amount per student, but they couldn't afford to pay it all in 1 year. So they've done an 8-year implementation plan. So when we talk about gap funding, there's a target amount per student that they want to pay us, and there's a whole 10-page calculation on this. I'm trying to really summarize it, and they come up with what that amount is, but they don't fund that full amount each year. They call it gap funding. So 26% is the amount that they calculate towards what they owe you, and they only fund you that 26%. So the gap funding is an increase in funding for school districts every year. So the multi-year I showed you, we are increasing revenues in each year. I don't know if I can quickly find it. So I think that answers your question about
Yes.
the deficits. The revenues are going up each year, but because we were in such a state of deficit spending, it's going to take us a few years to come out of it. Does anybody have anything to add, or did I answer? Do you think that was a clear explanation? And I have my email is on the district website. I'm happy to answer questions at any time.
Does anybody have any questions for Josie? Okay, so I think we're up to a motion.
Yeah.
Okay.
I move that we
certification.
certify the 2014-15 first interim report.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Passes 5-0, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. All right, we're down to future agenda items.
So we did agree to the board meeting on January 21st. And what I'd like to suggest, I'm going to try to see if Tim Fox can come and speak about the County Committee of School District Organization, because there is a request to do a reorganization, is that correct?
Yes.
So.
Which will affect us.
Yeah, so I will ask to see if he can come speak and share information. Based on that, we will then move into February into a resolution, depending on the direction the board would like to take. I think Ray will be ready for bringing the lights policy back for review to see if we want to make any changes and modifications there. And then, of course, we have the board policies there. In February, it does state under district business, Week of School Administrators, March. AXA has moved the Week of the School Administrator to October, so I will be bringing that resolution in September. So we will remove that. Any questions?
And we just have band concerts.
Right, and Valamar has been postponed for tomorrow and will be rescheduled, hopefully next week.
I think that's it. What? Okay, so I'm sure that you're gonna say.
We would like to close today's board meeting in honor of Barbara Hanover.
We'd like to close today's board meeting in honor of Barbara Annenberg and her service to the community. 9:26.
Thank you. I need the board members to sign something, but I thought I would come up while everyone was still here.
Can't leave until, you can't leave until you sign the same.